Hi, Michelle.
Hello and welcome back, Michelle, to The Wealth Within Us. So this is a part two of our discussion. So Michelle so kindly offered to do a quantum biofeedback on me. So I gave her my full name, my birthday. I actually gave you the time of my birth because I knew it, and the location of my birth, my address, and a picture of just me. So
Correct.
that is all I have given her.
That is what I
So
call your
now
energetic footprint.
my energetic footprint. Okay, so
Mhm.
now what did you do with all that
So what
fun
I did
information
was
besides
I
steal
put
my identity? No, I'm just kidding.
no, I put that into the computer, to the
Okay,
program. If you can see, this is the panel. So I
okay,
put it in the program. I'm not going to show your information, but we're going to go to the reactivity report, and I will
okay.
discuss with you different things that are on there, but I'm not going to show that on the screen.
Okay, that's fine. And I'm recording this, so obviously I'm open to whatever it is because
Yes.
this is meant to help people, you know. It's not just
Mhm.
about me, but it's like this is what happens. So I don't mind sharing whatever's going on with me. And I've already told Michelle that I'm a little bit stressed. So
Yes, and I could see that actually because I ran the profile ahead of time. So it is
ah,
actually the number one thing that came up.
oh,
That came up, and then your cortisol, of course, is super high right now. So that's indicative of stress.
okay.
Um, so the very first thing that came, so
So
there,
that's true. So
Mhm. Yeah.
mm, okay.
And what's kind of funny is I'm not dictating how the report goes. So it
Okay.
seems like it's all over the place because it's your body telling the software, hey, this is what I can work on right now.
Okay.
So it might seem like we go from one thing to another because that's what we're doing, because that's what your body is saying it's
Yeah.
capable of doing. Okay.
Okay.
So the very first thing that comes up is um, a bone that's like right above here.
Oh, okay. I have a lot of
Okay,
wrinkles.
so it's showing that it's low on frequency, on energy. The next thing is the left front part of the lobe of your brain is low in energy.
Okay. Now the left part is the
It's for language. I'm pretty sure
okay,
that's what. Let me just
the
look because
language.
I think it's about language, but let me look.
Okay. Because when we say left brain and right brain is the
What does?
creative and left brain is logical, right?
Give me 1 second to look it up.
Okay.
What does the left front lobe of the brain be responsible for? Controls language and speech.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and then there is a type of a fungus that's present um that's out of balance.
Okay.
There is, what is this? This is a homeopathic remedy that is for the lymph nodes. There needs to be a little bit of it's not like these are 100% off. So I will say
Mm-hmm.
this, you must be doing something to yourself, because on almost every person's report I've ever run in 12 years,
Mm-hmm.
there is something that's 100% off, and yours there's like 98, but so you don't have any that's 100%. So I feel like you must be doing something that's taking care of yourself or trying to
I would
detox.
say it's probably my LifeWave patches.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
LifeWave patches are frequency. I've talked about them. Go look them up.
Yep.
But I have been using them
Something's definitely
very steady
working.
for over 2 years now. So that's
Okay.
interesting.
So then there's the eyes.
Okay.
It doesn't tell me what, it just says eyes.
Mm,
So that could be nearsighted, farsighted. I'm not sure. It
okay. I'm
doesn't.
definitely farsighted, but with the LifeWave patches, my eyes actually, I just went to the eye doctor. My eyes actually just improved 0.5 on both sides,
That's awesome.
on the left and the right. But I mean, I still have issues with my eyes, although my eyesight did improve quite a significant amount. I mean, 0.5. So I had to get a whole new prescription and
Yeah,
everything.
that's really good.
But yeah, but I still have issues with my eyes. And I had a retinal detachment in my right eye. No, my left eye. No, my right eye. I can never remember. In my right eye when I was like 3 years old that had to have surgery.
Gosh.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is showing me, it's called the ethmoid bone.
Ooh.
And that's really low. And that's located in the midline of the anterior cranium. It
Anterior.
encloses and protects the brain. That's low.
Okay.
So when I say low, what I mean by that is it's not vibrating at the optimal frequency
Okay.
for that, like this ethmoid bone.
Okay.
So what I do is then I push a button to feed frequency to that area, and then your body will take over its own healing process if it can do that or not.
That is amazing. Do I feel it? Like, do people feel it?
Huh?
Do I like? Do people feel it?
Not usually.
No, not usually.
What usually happens is after, like, let's say after the treatment, either it depends how stressed they are, but they might feel less stressed right out of the gate. They might feel like, oh, I feel it a little bit more calm. Like, okay, I feel that. And then usually what happens over the next day or two is they just feel a little bit more energized,
Okay.
like in a stamina way, and they just feel like they can breathe a little deeper. Now, as you keep going, if you layer the treatments on top of each other, you'll really start to feel the difference.
Okay.
When you just have one, you'll feel a small change. Like, I'll give you an example. When I first started to do myself, I was getting exhausted by like between 1 and 3 o'clock in the afternoon. Now, I was a person who worked corporate jobs. Like, I worked from, I got up at 5 o'clock in the morning and exercised before I went to work, would work till 6 or 7 at night, go exercise, do Pilates on the way home, and walk 2.5 more miles at night. I had energy.
You're like an Energizer bunny. I'd have been like asleep.
So when I was at my worst, I was getting exhausted by between 1 and 3 in the afternoon.
Okay.
And when I first started this work, I could go, like, maybe I went 6 to 8 weeks, and I started to notice that, ooh, I got another hour out of the day before I could feel that my energy was being zapped. And then, then about 6 months, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm not tired till 5 o'clock. You know what I mean? So I really started to notice a difference in my physical energy. That was the first place that I really noticed.
Okay.
The biggest benefit was just in my physical energy.
That makes sense. Because if you're now vibrating at a higher frequency, and correct me if I'm wrong in thinking this. Now, what other parts of my body are not having to overcompensate for it?
Right.
It's like probably kind of draining. So if I'm operating optimum levels, clearly I'm having the language thing. What the hell? So if I'm optimized and running at close to 100% or whatever the optimal may be, now nothing's overcompensating for that. So it kind of makes sense.
Not causing you stress.
Not causing you stress, not causing, the body's working down here where it needs something versus and
that's actually the whole thing of what we're doing. So, like, the way that they explain how the biofeedback works is it reduces stress in your body. It technically isn't healing anything. It's reducing the stress in your body so your body can do what it's designed to do.
Yes. And when your body has inflammation, if your body has a really hard, like when your body is inflamed, it's eating up stem cells. It's like messing with your hormone levels. So your body has a really hard time healing when you've got a lot of inflammation, and stress causes inflammation and all the other
every system plays off another system, right? So if you have one system that's out of balance, it's going to affect everything. Because it's like a little waterfall effect. And what's funny, when you said you didn't have the language, you actually were having a memory conflict today.
Oh, what does that mean? A memory?
Well, you might not have been able to find your language, and you had the left part of the lobe of your brain that was low on energy. So that actually is responsible for speech. So when you just proved that this was right by saying, oh my gosh, I can't find my words. That was actually a thing that was happening for you today.
I did not plan that, by the way.
I know. So your body is actually holding on to some radiation. So I don't know if you've had radiation recently, but your body was holding on to some radiation. So,
technically radiation, that could be from like anywhere. That could be from sitting in front of the computer all day. And then I do certain things that I try to help myself. Like I try to have shungite around and all other things, but I know only, only so much is going to work, but we're constantly bombarded with radiation to a certain degree.
Sure. Now, there was also something going on with the mitochondria, which is the powerhouse of your cells.
Okay.
So it says that there was damage being caused to them. And they're the little power plants of your body. So I worked on those.
Good thing.
There's
Mitochondria is like super important.
It's extremely important because it's like the center of your cell.
And what would cause that to happen?
I don't know. So I don't know any of the causes of any of this.
Okay.
I don't have my little, it doesn't tell you that. It says what's out of balance. So we can and with one treatment, I would have no idea. Now, if you start to do more than one treatment and you do them weekly, we're going to start to see what things you could be doing in your environment that are causing some of these things. But right now,
makes a lot of sense. Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't say what causes it.
This is like a baseline.
Yes. That's what we're doing right now. And then if we choose to do treatments weekly, what would happen is I would start to say, oh, okay, as you're talking to me about your life, I'm going to make something up. Let's say you're talking about, oh my gosh, every day this week, you're telling me what happened from one week to the next. And you're talking about every night you guys had ice cream sundaes, and I see certain things off. I might make the connection and go, you know what? I wonder if your ice cream sundaes is causing some inflammation in the body, which is then leading to other system issues. So I would have to really, work with you together on that to know what some of the causes are. By your lifestyle, by your habits. Does that make sense?
That makes a lot of sense.
What's going on emotionally with you?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So anyway, okay. So there was some attention deficit disorder today happening from ADD.
And then every day.
There's some helplessness, recklessness, needing to have a decrease in cortisol.
Okay.
There's a completion conflict. So you must start projects and not finish them.
Yep. I was just going over my list of uncompleted projects today. Like these things need to get wrapped up.
Yeah. So you can see that you really are furnishing the system with your information, because
that's crazy.
It's kind of cool, right?
Yeah, I love it.
There's a frequency for being stuck. So your energy's kind of stuck. That's off probably 95%. Wow. So that may actually have something to do with the completion conflict.
And it could, and I think, that's it. I think been that's a reoccurring thing. You know what I mean? Like, I often feel like I'm stuck. Like, where do I go? Where do I turn?
So I'm going to read you a couple. I'm going to read you a couple that led me to go over to the emotional stresses to see what's going on there. Yeah. So I'm going to read you the top 10 emotional stresses that are
for me.
This is what your body told the machine. These are the emotions that are causing the most stress. Needing to relax. Suspicious. Irritable. Being oversensitive to all external influences. Psychogenic stress.
What's that? Psychogenic?
Like psychological stress.
Oh, okay.
Like what you're thinking about is causing you stress.
Yeah.
Calmness. Tolerance, not having a lot of tolerance. That might be for you or somebody else, or even, with what's happening in the world today. Chasing after something. Compulsive thinking.
More like for me, I feel it's compulsive overthinking. That's probably what overthinking is compulsive thinking. Well,
overthinking and compulsive are a little bit different.
Okay.
Overthinking is like compulsive is you can't stop. No. Overthinking might be you think for a while and then you let it go. Right? You might have overthought something for a little while. Or
I never thought about that. I always considered
Let's look up the definition. Let's do this.
Yeah. Because my brain just does not.
What is the definition of overthinking? Okay. So the definition of overthinking is to think too much about something or analyzing it too much.
Okay.
What is the definition of compulsive thinking? Uncontrollable reoccurring thoughts, obsessions that can lead people to engage in repetitive compulsive behaviors.
Ooh.
Although everybody worries or feels the need to double check things, on occasion the symptoms could be possibly associated with OCD or severe and persistent. So it's like maybe this is more like, oh, I'm afraid that my house is going to burn down. I have to check the coffee pot 25 times versus overthinking, maybe overthinking a situation. Like I'm trying to figure out the solution to it.
I don't really have any OCD things that I'm aware of. Like I'm not like consciously aware of any OCD stuff.
Well, that might be the key right there. Not consciously aware of it. So
Okay.
let's look a little bit. Okay, so then I went in and I said, okay, let's work on some of the conflict stresses. Because when I saw the completion conflict, I was like, there's probably a bunch of different conflicts happening.
Yeah.
And in order for me to get to the completion conflict, maybe there's other stuff that are holding that back. So I went over to conflict stresses, and here's some of the conflict stresses that came up. Sleep conflict, discipline, commitment, food, space, aging, time, belief, power, and honesty. And I feel like those all kind of go hand in hand, because how can you complete something if you have all of that going on?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So if your belief is, huh?
So I'm a mess.
Yeah, well, again, we don't really realize all the different things. I was listening
to like no judgment. Like it is what it is. That's why we're doing all this stuff. Level this stuff out.
Yep. So there's also an age stress factor report. And I thought, sometimes in my experience with dealing with people, when I see the completion conflict, and I saw some stuff like, again, with the left part of the brain. And so I thought, well, let me go over and do the conflict stresses, the emotional stuff. That will help remove some stuck energy.
Okay.
But then I also went over to the age stresses, because I thought that's probably something that isn't new, especially when I saw the completion, helplessness, and recklessness. So I thought, well, let me go over to the age stresses to see if maybe there's some energy that's hanging around from maybe
What does that mean? Age stresses. What does that mean?
So that means that when you were 2 years old, something affected you, and the energy of that is still stuck in the body. So I want to remove
it's like a specific age stressor. Okay. But honestly, I thought you meant like I was stressing out about getting older.
No. So I went through 10 different age stresses to see what ages were there, because the goal isn't to focus on the age, it's to focus on moving the energy that was stuck in the body. Because your body having stuck energy in it will affect your brain, just like your brain will affect your body, right? So you want to get the stuff out of your body so that you can make more room for the higher vibration.
And if it's something at 2, that means that thing's been around a long time now. Maybe it's my sister was born when I was 2.
Could be. Well, I would assume that that's stressful, because if you were the one getting the attention.
I was the first. So it's just me and my sister. So and she came on the scene. Dang it. No, I love my sister. She's like my best friend.
So you get kind of the idea. It's not like, so let's say there's 10, 20, 30, there's probably 85 different frequencies that have already been changed.
Okay.
Now what happens is, now that I've sent you frequency for these, your body will take over its own process. Like it will say, oh, okay, I can keep this frequency and I'm going to discard this one. I'm going to keep this. You don't really know. I can't tell what you're going to keep. So what you do is you come back in the next week and you go ahead and you start changing some more. Because at that point, your body will give a whole new report and say, this is what I'm ready to work on this week. And then we just, like I mentor you, we just talk through some of these things, because helping you become more aware of what you're thinking and feeling in your own mind, because your thoughts dictate your life. So to get control of your thoughts, you have to know, number one, what voice is in there. Is that your third grade teacher? Is it your mom? Is it your own? Is it you know what I mean? To get to that authentic self,
Yeah.
you have to be really super aware of what and why you're thinking something if you want to make a change to it.
That makes total sense to me because like sometimes we are running off other people's programs.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes
Yeah, you
through
don't
our
even
own
realize
time.
it.
Yeah. And that's the
Mm-hmm.
thing. So essentially then this is kind of tapping into the subconscious mind is what I'm,
Yes,
yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Because your body is not sending me the top 10 emotional stresses. Like sometimes people will say to me, oh, I don't feel that at all. And I'm like, okay, well, that's not how this works.
Yeah.
This is not a lie detector test that you can beat,
Yeah.
right?
Yes.
This
Yeah.
is just the scientific, if anger resonates at, I'm making this up, if anger resonates at 500 megahertz and
Mhm.
yours is reading 200, then you're angry somewhere. Whether you're repressing it or not, I don't know.
Yeah.
Right? So that's why we do a little bit of talking so that you can, because whatever you're ready for, we're like an onion and we have to peel
Mhm.
back the layers a little bit
Yes.
at a time. So that's what we start to do on a weekly basis. And you learn how to be more self-aware. You think about what you're thinking about, right? Because whatever you're thinking about, where focus goes, energy flows. I
Yes.
love a good Tony Robbins. He's pretty smart with the way that
Mhm.
that he reveals things. And it is very helpful. The law of repetition is a real thing and it's being used on you all day, every day.
Yes.
So sometimes if you're not aware of what you're thinking about, you don't even know that you've already been brainwashed by a commercial or by
Yeah.
what somebody else is saying, right?
It's so true.
So it's the number one thing that toxic, abusive people use is the law of repetition
Yeah.
against
Oh, and
their,
that's like marketing. That's how we're
yes, that's how
marketed
marketing
to.
works. Or an abuser.
Yes.
Isn't that
Yes.
kind of funny? They use the
Or,
same
a
technique.
propagandist,
Yep.
TV,
And
news, shows,
right.
whatever,
And
all
fear,
that stuff.
you
Teachers,
can feel the
parents.
frequency of fear, right? Because when somebody starts to
Yes.
put fear in somebody, they feel right away because they're like, oh, you know what I mean? Their
Yeah.
body reacts to it.
Mhm. Definitely, I think when you feel fear, it's like it's hard to hide. Like you can't, like you're feeling fear.
Yes. Yeah. But you know what? Wouldn't it be really neat if so you could tap into when you feel the difference between fear or anxiousness or worry? Or wouldn't it be nice if you could recognize when you're starting to feel those feelings and stop that? And that's what we're doing. We're along with the biohacking is what I like to
Mhm.
call it, because we're filling you up with different type of energy that's of a positive vibration. And
Mhm.
then you get to use it however your body needs to use it.
Mm.
So and then we're talking about all of these different things that I see, it helps to bring awareness to you, and then you get to deal with yourself. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying?
And this is the most natural form of biohacking. You're not, I mean,
Yes,
look,
absolutely.
I just sat here during the day while she did this. I didn't do
That's right.
anything. There was nothing
Mhm.
implanted under my skin or anything
That's
weird
right.
like that.
So,
Nothing
I
injected. It was just pure energy and frequency.
don't know if I told you this, but I did hire a scientist in Allentown, Pennsylvania, and I didn't have a person I could send. So what I did was I charged water, 2 jugs of water.
You did mention this, but I definitely want you to go over this again because people might not have watched the first part of this.
So I charged 2 jugs of water. I sent one like 3,000 miles away, and I had one here. And I took them then, after they were both charged, I took them to the scientist, and he put a little mode in them, a little nodule thing, and put it in and read them. And it showed that they both read exactly the same for the frequencies
Mm.
that I charged them with. So one was charged at a distance, 3,000 miles away, and one was done in front of me. So frequency is not bound by time or space, and you can
Mhm.
look that up in quantum physics. So if just like your cell phone, your cell phone,
Yeah.
if you dial somebody's phone number, it immediately rings at the other end. That's proof that frequency is not bound by time or space.
Yeah, and you and I are sitting here talking and we're not in the same room.
That's right.
I mean,
That's right.
it wouldn't matter if you're 5,000 miles away or you're probably more like 10 miles away.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yes.
But yeah, it's like you're right here next to me.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And you can see, and again, you don't really feel a ton right out of the gate. You will feel a little bit more stamina, a little more energy.
Mhm.
But then as time goes on, we start to really get into when you start doing treatments on a weekly basis and you're stacking the energy on top of each other, then you start to have weeks where you have like an epiphany or a new level, and all of a sudden something in your mind, you just totally start to think differently. And you're like, wow, how did I not see XYZ before? And you start to be a little more creative, because the higher vibrations you have inside of you, the more you're able to, run at your optimal level, the way your creator created you to be. And so it's pretty amazing to watch people. It's amazing to watch people. That's all I can say. So
yeah. And I imagine that if you've been, say, vibrating at a lower frequency than optimal for quite a while, you're going to notice a difference. And then your body's going to want to be there. It's like, oh, this frequency feels pretty darn good. And maybe this is all happening subconsciously, but it's like, well, how do I now maintain this? Because, well, I don't want to go back.
And we talk about all that too. There's things that you can do. The biggest thing you're going to look at is the way that you think. Sometimes people come to me and they say, oh, I think I have anxiety and depression. And after I start working with them a little bit, I'm like, you're actually anxious or depressed because of a situation that's happening, and we need to deal with the situation. And then sometimes people actually have depression and anxiety, not more situational. So, you have to talk through those things and work through them. There's times, this is a wild story. One time I was working on a little girl, she might've been 6, and it showed that her eardrum was ready to burst. So I called the mother and I said, cause she said something, she just isn't acting right. But she's not, she doesn't feel sick. She keeps telling me she doesn't feel sick. And so I called her and I said, I think you need to take her to the ER. And sure enough, she took her to the ER, and they were like, her eardrum was ready to burst. But there was the little girl wasn't like screaming in pain, or she didn't even, when her mother said, do you feel bad? She was like, no, I don't really feel bad. So they were grateful that she got there in the time frame that she did. So again, I am not against medical help. I don't, I think we all have to do different things at different times in our lives. So I'm not against any of that kind of stuff. If I don't know something, I'm not afraid to refer somebody to something else, because, just like every other human, we don't know everything. No. Sometimes we need help from different places.
And everything works together to a certain degree.
It really does.
As long as it's working like synergistically together.
Yes. That's what we want. So, anyway, so do you have any questions that you would like to ask me? Like, could you look up, I don't know, my right arm, or like my teeth, or I don't know. What do you have? Do you have anything that's bothering you you'd like me to look up?
Well, let me first ask one question. So when you do this is like a snapshot in this time right now. So next week it will be different.
It will be different. Well, hold on right there. It may be different. If you have not been able to deal with something, it may show back up on the report. Okay. So it could be totally different, and some of the report may be different.
Yeah. Like, say something stressful happened. So last week I wasn't stressed. Now this week I'm stressed. So now stress is showing up, whereas maybe
that's your number one issue.
It might not have shown up. Okay.
That's right.
Now, I like the question. Where were you going now? I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Did you have a word, or did you have something you were like, I don't know, I would like you to check my gallbladder. I feel sometimes,
Oh. You know what was weird? I was away this weekend and I was walking and I felt like I was getting a little out of breath. And I don't normally do that.
Let's look. That's a great one right there.
That was like a physical type of symptom.
Sure. When did the stress really start? Because
honestly, I think I've been stressed out for like about a month and a half.
Okay, so there's a couple things happening. The muscles of your diaphragm are very tight. This area has like zero energy happening.
In here.
The trachea that goes to the lungs. And there's some stuff going on in your respiratory system, the esophagus, the lungs. There's definitely you're very low energy in all areas of the lungs. That could also be being induced by by stress, because what is this? I just did the response earlier.
Yeah. Yeah, and
We don't,
everything's tight and
and then it
constricted and
freezes
it's
up,
not
and the
flowing.
diaphragm freezes up. Yeah, there's a lot going on in the lungs. It's even showing, I don't think you have asthma, but it's showing like you have asthma because you're not, the breath, the air isn't
That's
getting.
kind of actually how it felt, because I
Yeah.
don't have asthma. I do get like allergy induced asthma with certain things,
Oh,
but
so let's look at allergies.
well, yeah.
Okay, so there's some sagebrush, cypress, tobacco smoke, leather, pine. You're having allergic reactions to all of those. White polar, mountain cedar.
So it's probably, it sounds like a lot of change of season things.
Yes. Let me just see. Let me just go over to viruses and make sure there isn't something kind of brewing.
Yeah, yeah.
No, it doesn't look like there's anything there. Now I'm going to go over to the bacterias and make sure there isn't anything funny going there.
Does it check for parasites? I've been kind of reading a little bit on that lately, and it's funny.
Heavy metals, parasites. Heavy metals and parasites are an interesting dynamic.
So that works together?
No, they're two separate panels,
Oh,
but
okay.
but you can detox both of those.
Gotcha. Yeah.
So yeah, there's some parasites going on. Let me look at the heavy metals. Again, we can't do everything all in one session.
No. It's
But
just,
this is why you start to do this, because you want to keep pushing those frequencies out. Your heavy metals are off a little, but it's not terrible. We would probably focus more on parasites than heavy metals.
yeah.
Or,
I try to not do that. I've always tried to detox the heavy metals and stuff.
Yeah, I can see that there's a difference, and there is still some vaccine responses from when you were a kid. So I do have a panel for COVID that I can work on, but that's so big. It's like it doesn't test you to see if you have it. It just is a treatment panel, and it's its own. Yeah, that would be one whole session.
Oh wow. Well, that would be really good for people who've had COVID and are kind of experienced with like symptoms, lingering symptoms from that.
Yep. Okay. I want to look at the organs really quick too, because so typically what I do is a session. If you do like at a distance session, I can work on you about 2 hours before we have the phone call. And then the phone call, I go over kind of like what I did with you, what I'm seeing. And then I'm not going in as depth with you right now because it's an example.
Yeah.
I'm still doing the work, but I'm not.
Yeah.
Because it would take too long to talk about all of it. But then we kind of go over, I call it the fun stuff. If you have any questions, then I look at stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's kind of what we're doing now.
Yep. That's right.
I think I asked about the parasites of a friend of mine. Maybe she's watching. She just there's this herbal doctor or herbal guy near where I lived in Connecticut, and he's like amazing, but he has this para cleanse capsules that you take for 5 days in a row, and he said he takes it on the first of every month to clear out parasites.
That's great.
I was like, oh, that's really interesting. So she ended up getting it. Clearly I should have gotten it.
Did she do it, and how did she feel?
I didn't. I'll have to reach out to her. Monique, if you're watching this, let me know. Because I'd be curious. So now I'm like, maybe I can call and order some.
So I also do so as we're doing you, just so you know, like sometimes I've done cancer centers, the building, because the building picks up the energy of the people that are in it.
That makes sense.
So I treat the houses, I've treated cars, horses,
There's
dogs,
a
cats.
lot of people in this house. There's 10, let me see. 2, 6. Yeah, there's like 10 people, sometimes 11 in this house that live here right now.
That's a lot. So you have a lot of different energies going on.
Yes, and everybody's got their own unique personality, including me.
I work with the real estate brokers, and I do all their listings. Before they list it, we do like cleansing, all kinds of things. I've actually worked on people's jets, personal jets. I have.
Wow. Clear the energy of this jet, please.
I've worked with people's employees. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But I mean, if you think about it, if you're having some issues in an office
Mhm.
environment, I mean, that could really be helpful.
Yep.
So there's so many multiple things that you can do. It's not just,
It's energy, and every
yeah.
single thing you have is energy,
Mhm.
whether it's your food,
Yep.
your pets, a building, a barn, everything
At your
is,
home.
yep, land. I've actually worked on people's plants. So
Cool.
we've actually fertilized the ground with the frequency instead of the fertilizer to see if the plants would grow, and they did.
Oh, that's amazing.
So there's like, you can change, you could take processed food.
Uh-huh.
You can do anything you want to do.
Yeah. Well, even if you're
You can
like
take
eating,
candy and put
yeah.
vitamins in it.
Or if you're eating dinner, just say a little prayer over your food that,
Absolutely.
that you receive all the good intentions of the best
Yes,
that that food
absolutely.
has, and your body easily and quickly releases the negative things.
That's right.
I say I
Yeah.
like to do that, and I do, but I should do it like at every meal, but I don't.
Every single thing. Yes.
No, I
Even
really,
your water. Because remember the
yes.
guy, I can't think of the guy's name who did that study
The
where he,
Emoto guy.
yes, where he
Yeah.
spoke to the water and it froze it, and you could see the patterns
Yeah.
and how beautiful they were with the good words, and how sharp edged and weird they
Mhm.
were with the negative words.
And they've done
And
it with plants.
our bodies are made of water.
Yeah. I
So
think, what is it? The water on Earth is equal to the percentage of water on Earth is equal to the percentage of water in our bodies.
I didn't know that. That's really cool. I did not know that.
Yeah. That also works with like plants, and think about a person. If you're saying mean things to a person all the time, it's the same thing. So although he tested
Yeah.
it on water, the same thing goes for our family, our pets, our plants,
When I walk my
our
dogs in the
environment.
morning, I always say to them, "You're so healthy. You're so happy.
Aw.
You're so good. Like, you're so smart." I say that to my dogs.
I do. Everybody gets annoyed at me with my
And
dog.
they wag their tails.
Oh
They're all
yeah,
excited
they like
about it.
love it. My little dog, she's like a little sausage. Her whole body wiggles.
So that's funny. I'm looking for a particular frequency. Let me tell you when I find it. Here it is. Okay, so what I want you to do is I want you to shake your wrists out. And I'm going to count while I'm running this frequency. What I'm going to do is I'm going to count to 4. I want you to
Okay.
breathe in to the count of 4, and
Okay.
then through your nose, and then breathe out through your mouth. Because what I'm
While
working
I'm
on,
shaking my wrists.
yep,
Okay, so
what
breathe
I'm
in for
working on is,
4 and out for 4
yes,
while doing this.
yes.
Okay.
So what I'm doing right now is stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, you can stop when you're done.
Okay.
So
I was
that's
like
why I
being
want
a
to.
little like, wow, I'm like trying to do 2 things at once. I was like,
Well,
am
I'm
I
trying to
shaking my
get
hands or
your.
am I breathing?
So when you do this, you're actually stimulating the parasympathetic nervous system.
Ah,
And
okay.
you're doing
Okay.
it with the deep breathing. And I'm doing it on the computer, feeding you the frequency for it. Because I
Okay.
really want you to be able to just calm down.
Yes. And it is. Deep breaths are just like, oh.
Mhm.
Yeah, I can feel that energy just in my hands from doing that.
Mhm. And check your diaphragm, because I just went in and did a frequency right before I started this to try to loosen that up a little. Just see, and maybe even putting your hands there and breathing into it right now to see if that helps.
Yeah. It was like weird. Like over the weekend, I was like just walking and maybe like up a little bit of hill. And I was like, man, I feel like I felt like I was
Yeah,
gasping.
it's
I'm like,
because
why
this
am
is
I
kind of
gasping?
this is stuck. The energy in the
Okay,
muscles
the
are tight
energy
and it's
here is
stuck.
stuck. Okay,
Hmm.
get unstuck. Just pull it out like ropes.
Yeah. Do you feel any less calm, any more calm?
I do actually.
Hmm. Yeah, your body's receiving the frequency. I even have a little meter that shows me if your body is like receiving it soft or if there's a strong response medium.
Yeah.
And it's medium, which is really good because you've never had this work done. And usually when I feed frequency for the first time to a client, the feedback, meaning the way that you receive the feedback, the frequency is very soft because your body's like, I'm not sure about that. But
Ah,
yours is medium. So I can tell
I've
that
done a
you've
lot of
done,
energy work,
I was
so
going to say, I can tell you've done energy work before
mhm.
because your
Yeah,
body knows what to
yeah,
do with it as I'm feeding it to you.
exactly. And I've done a lot on myself, and hopefully moving forward with my life, that's I think where I want to go. Just
Right.
that thing is in that realm.
Yeah, because really everything is energy. And
It
so
is.
no matter what you're dealing with, if you're dealing with, work, if you're dealing with personal relationships,
Yep.
everything is energy, and it's about how somebody decides to manage their energy, right? So if you
Yeah.
have an abusive person, they have a toxic coping mechanism in the way that they use their energy, right?
Yeah.
And right, or if you have a healthy person, then they have a healthy coping mechanism on how to use their energy.
You want
Because
to
that's
know
what we're
something?
doing.
Yeah, it's so true. You want to know something weird? I feel like I'm either smelling or breathing in like tobacco. Weird.
That's interesting.
It's like I can almost, and I grew up in a house where my mom and dad smoked too.
Hmm,
But it's
that's
like
interesting
weird
because
that
under
as I'm
allergies,
like breathing it in, it's almost like I can kind of smell it. And although I've never been a smoker, like you know how like you can kind of sometimes you can taste it in the back of your throat. Does that make sense?
it does, because we might be bringing that stuff up from your childhood to release it, because I worked on the age stress factors from when you were little.
Yes.
And did you in the
And
same house where they're
yes,
smoking now?
no,
That
not in here, not in here.
okay.
But as a kid, I grew up, my entire childhood grew up with my parents smoking in the house. And there was a lot of mold in the house too, and a lot of
Oh,
like tobacco and residue, like like if you'd move a picture, there'd be the spot, the outline of the picture. So
and
yeah,
your
so I grew up with
body,
everything smelling like smoke.
so your body, your report says that you actually have an allergic reaction to smoke.
Yes, so the
So
tobacco.
that probably wasn't very healthy for you as a child.
Probably not. I mean, I didn't really develop asthma
Thank
or at least
goodness.
any kind of chronic asthma from it. So somehow my body handled that or filtered
Yeah.
it or whatever. But it was funny as you were doing that. I'm like, it's really weird sensation that I can almost smell and even taste in the back of my throat, like what kind of would taste like tobacco or that smell. Because even when you smell tobacco, it still kind of goes in. Even if you're
Yes,
just
it does.
around it, you can kind of feel it or like
You
almost
can kind of
it.
taste it if it's
Yeah,
really
taste it.
close to you.
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly. So that is weird because
Because it does, the
I figured
smoke
I'd
does go
mention
into
it.
your lungs.
Yeah, so that's why I wanted to mention it. I'm like, it's really weird. I'm kind of
I
tasting
think that's just from
tobacco.
what we're trying to release. And you're
Probably
doing the deep breathing. So maybe something
bringing
that's
up some
causing
old lung
old
crap.
stuff. Mm-hmm.
I'll be like, get out.
So
I
I'm
can
doing
cough.
some flower essences, and this
Mm.
particular flower essence is good for unwanted thoughts and worries, which seem to endlessly
Oh,
reoccur and can cause you insomnia. It teaches a balanced state of mind and ability to use somebody's thoughts constructively.
it's funny that that came up. I usually have no problem sleeping, but I've actually had some sleep disruption the last couple of nights. Like I'd say the last maybe 4 or 5 nights. And I
So
usually don't. Usually I go to bed and I'm like out unless I got pee or something.
yeah, and see, I would never know that.
No.
That's the machine. You told the machine that.
Yes.
And then there's another one called Move. It's called Move On, and it's good for repressed or deep-seated emotions that can be
Ooh.
related to anger, grief, disappointment, and it's associated with past traumas or abuses. It assists in dealing with painful events from the past.
Makes a lot of sense. I was an emotion pusher downer most of my life. Like I would stuff every emotion down. I would never cry. And then when I
Yep.
started doing a lot more energy work in my early 30s, like, yeah, I let a lot of that go. But I'm sure there's still a lot stuck there.
There must be some in the cells. That might be why the mitochondria came up.
Ah.
That so today we got a little something moving, which is good.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah.
And the cool part is you don't really have to participate. You know what I mean? So we
Mm.
can just release it. There doesn't have to be this whole like we have to talk about it over and over, because
Yeah,
sometimes I feel
yeah.
like when you do that, you embed it deeper. So we can
Yeah, and
just
what you like
let it
focus
go.
on, what is it? Whatever what
We're
you
focused. Where energy
Where-
go, where
yeah,
focus goes, energy flows.
exactly. See, I am having trouble with my words. What the hell?
Okay, so this is a flower essence that's good for inspiration.
Mm,
And it helps you to find new and better ways to deal with things.
okay.
It helps with increased energy flow and produces a greater capacity for problem solving, as well as new insights to all of your new creative endeavors.
Huh.
I like that one.
I like that one too. It's funny. I just kind of almost felt like I got this really big, deep breath finally that I could let out.
Yay!
I did. I actually literally, I think, felt like a little shift. And the shift was actually in here is where I would say the shift was. It was almost like a little bubble that was like, like when you like, okay. Then I
I
can
do.
a bit of a deep
I
breath.
do. So you're literally feeling the evidence of what we're working on.
Exactly.
Okay. Any other questions or things you want to look up? Do you have a word that comes to mind, like a negative word, like frustration or anxiety? Do you have any words like that that I could type in to see what your response is there?
Maybe overwhelm.
Okay.
Sometimes I get overwhelmed. And then I tend to shut down when I get overwhelmed.
When you get overwhelmed.
It is weird. I'm picking up all these smells now.
So we moved something for sure. And now you're able to like
different smell, and the smell is now coming through my nose, and I'm not so much tasting something, I'm more like smelling something.
That's good, because whatever was shut down is definitely starting to like open up now.
Yeah.
Yes, the frequency for overwhelm is it's really off, like 92%. So we don't want that.
No.
And when I typed in overwhelmed, underneath that, anxiety came up, and so it doesn't tell you the types. It just says anxiety 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and they're all off. So we definitely want to put those back into balance, because we don't want you to go to the emotion of anxiety.
I may have to do some work on myself after this to like let these frequencies take more of a hold. I'm going to do
there isn't really anything you can do. Once the frequency's fed to you, you don't have to do anything.
I don't even have to do anything. Okay.
No, you do not have to do anything. Your body knows what to do with it. All you have to do is rest, move on, and go.
Lots of water. I know a lot of these things, a lot of water to hydrate and keep things flowing.
Yes.
I'm going to do a whole episode on this, but my sister and I went to an emotion code workshop this weekend, and it was fantastic. It's something I think we want to do as a practice. And a lot of this seems to relate to it. Whereas it's like things that are stuck, like what's stuck in your body. It's like emotions and what's causing all this stuff.
Yes.
It's funny, like every once in a while I can feel a pinpoint. Like right now I'm kind of feeling a pinpoint down here, and like
I'm working on anxiety right now.
Intestines and uterus.
And that specifically is anxious worry.
Ah, okay.
So you might actually have more anxious thoughts than you actually think you do. And so you might want to like start to become a little bit more aware of what you are thinking. And if we ever do more work together, we'll start to focus on like getting a report every week of like you telling me what your anxious thoughts were, what you noticed. And that way it helps to start creating the habit of you to become conscious of what you're thinking.
And what's interesting, I was just thinking of as you were saying that in general, and most people that know me, they would not say that I was an anxious person really at all.
Because anxiety can look like you're being an overachiever. It can look like you're in 20 different things.
It's like internally, and even internally, I think I don't feel like an anxious person. So I think a lot of this is like subconscious or something. I'm like, I know I'm like kind of stressed right now, but like
when we are
not very anxious, but maybe I just push that down.
Listen, when we're not being conscious, we are running on subconscious.
Yeah.
So the goal is to constantly keep your mind coming back to the conscious moment.
We learned a statistic. We learned a statistic this weekend that was so fascinating, because it was saying how much of your conscious brain are you using, and it was like 8 zeros and a 9. And I was like, for real?
Mhm.
What the heck?
So,
So, yeah,
it's not that much because
it's like way less than 1%.
yes. Um, it's funny you say that. So there's a scripture in the Bible and it says
Mhm.
that you're to take every thought captive and make it be obedient to Christ. And really what that means is you have to be conscious of what you're allowing into here because there's different
Okay.
people talking, right? There's your
Mhm.
third grade teacher, there's your mother, your
Yeah.
father, your religious leaders, your town spokesperson, your political figures, your friends, your boyfriends or husband. They're all talking, right? Because
Yeah.
when people repeat stuff over and over, you start to believe your body and your brain start to believe it's
Mhm.
true. So you have to decide, what you have to be conscious enough to know what is being said, to know if that's really from you. The
Yeah.
heart's job is to root and ground you in life. And if there's a false belief system in the heart, you are all having a false belief system in the heart translates to you living in the unconscious. You're
Yes.
you're doing something unconsciously, right?
Yeah.
So, um, you know, if you keep getting in abusive relationships, there's a reason for that because there's
Mhm.
some false belief system in the heart, and people will say, "I don't know why that woman doesn't just leave that guy," because it's not that simple. There's
Yeah.
false belief systems in her heart that have to be dealt with, and if she doesn't deal with them, she'll keep going back because she's going to act from the subconscious mind.
Yeah. And probably even from like I've been single for a really long time. So it's like I'm probably like repelling. Like my heart is saying, oh, you don't want to get broken. You don't want to
I'm
be
afraid.
messed
I'm
with.
afraid.
Like,
Mhm.
yeah, yeah. Don't
Yeah.
let that stuff in. You've
Yeah.
got your dog and she loves you.
So there's all kinds of things happening, and so again, to live, we're really even taught to unplug from that now. It's like go 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 go, and the
Hmm.
more you go, the less you're able to think. And
Yes. And reflect.
it's
You can't reflect either if you're going.
that's what I'm saying. That's the whole
Yeah.
point. Society says if I distract you enough, you will not be able to slow down and think.
Hmm.
And then, that's where you become the greatest version of you. And the light always supersedes the dark. So the
Yeah.
dark is always trying to keep us go, 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 go,
Mhm.
go, because the
Yeah.
light will turn the switch on and
Buy
remove
my
the darkness.
thing, follow my rules, do what I
Right.
say,
Yep. Yeah.
whatever it possibly can be.
Hmm.
A million things.
Well, I thank you for letting me do this today with you. I appreciate
I
it.
appreciate you doing this with me. This was super insightful and hopefully we can continue this. Um, so is there anything else like that we kind of missed that we need to know?
I
So we
don't know.
kind of went over what a session would look like. So this is basically what a baseline session would look like. And then
Yes.
we're playing off of all these frequencies that we're trying to even out, I guess you would say, level out,
Well,
balance out, probably balance.
so it's science. Science has figured out the frequency for every single thing. And if it's not resonating at whatever science says it resonates at, then it's in a deficient mode. And we're trying to bring that back into a
Yeah,
homeostasis.
I love that. So imbalance to balance.
Yes.
All right. And
Yes.
I love that you add the mentoring component because then you can truly uncover the patterns, just one
Sure.
session. This is fantastic. But I could see how over time you're just uncovering people levels and
And
identifying
again, we kept this
patterns.
kind of superficial because
Yeah.
you're I don't want to put all your all your stuff out. So this is a little bit more
Yeah, like a little snapshot.
yeah, this is just like a little snapshot and a teaser.
Exactly. A little teaser.
Mhm.
Sounds good. Well, on that, tell us again how we can get in touch with you.
Okay, so there is website is michellemae.net, and that's spelled MICHELLEMAE.net. There's my telephone number, which is area code 272
Mhm.
800 8021. There's my email, which is done under Mayday Mentoring, and that's spelled MAEDAEMENTORING
Perfect. So if you are interested in any of this work with Michelle, she is going to balance out all of our frequencies so we can all become our own authentic selves and
Yeah.
uncover all that subconscious stuff that's been sticking in there for way too long. I know I'm ready to get rid of my stuff. So I thank you so much again, and I thank everybody else for watching part 2 of this fantastic quantum biofeedback machine. I'm so intrigued, and I again thank you so much for your time. So until
Thank you
next
so
time.
much, Michelle. I appreciate you and your
Oh,
time.
thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.